bringing you a special conversation. Actually, this is the person that we're speaking with, Mayank Bansal. He's a hedge fund options trader based out of the UAE. He's, of course, now very well known in the broader media, primarily because he's being tagged as a whistleblower who actually directed SEBI into the entire scandal that is happening at Jane Street and the kind of trades that they undertook in India. Mayank, welcome to this conversation. My name is Vishwanath Nair. I just wanted to first start off this conversation with the conversation with SEBI, right? You've claimed previously that you wrote, of course, to the top management at SEBI, and you got a response from Anant Narayan, who eventually went on to write that order against Jane Street. He had invited you for a meeting. However, sources are telling us that SEBI was not actually acting on any whistleblower complaint specifically when it was looking into the Jane Street issue. But if you can tell us a little bit about how that conversation went and what exactly was SEBI looking at when they were discussing this issue with you.
So basically, I had reached out to SEBI in December, on 17th of December 2024, which is when SEBI actually, as per the report itself, they've started investigating then itself. And then I did a presentation on 6th of January. And basically, the patterns that I've pointed out to SEBI are part of the interim order that SEBI has released. So also, I would like to just mention that I am not a whistleblower per se, as in I'm not internal to Jane Street. Obviously, I've raised this for the industry, but I'm not internal to Jane Street. And yeah, so SEBI has been, initially it was handed over to NSE, and they could not find anything, I think, which is when, as the extent of manipulation was increasing all through 2024, in December, I reached out to SEBI and they picked up the issue and they started investigating.
Right.
Since then, I've been in touch over mail. I'm sure I know a couple of brokerages also who reached out, after my reaching out. And like there might be other people also who reached out to SEBI. It might not be solitarily me alone. But yes, a lot of the things that are mentioned in the interim order are from, the things that I presented to SEBI in the PPT, which is public now.
Okay, let me get into the findings themselves. Specifically with regard to the kind of trades that they undertook over 2024. And I've read an interview you did with a newspaper where you talked about two kinds of trades that they were undertaking as part of their strategy. One was silent options, and then I think the other one was a volatile expiry. Could you tell us a little bit about what exactly it is that you found there?
Yeah, so options have a parameter called implied volatility, which is a measure of how cheap or expensive the options are. Now, in the two kinds of constructs, what would happen on expiry day is that IVs would either completely get crushed, which is a measure of the expensiveness or the cheapness of the option, or they would just go through the roof. I will cover each of the constructs in greater detail. By the way, these constructs have been observed by practically all market participants across the industry. So it's not as if I am the only one who's experienced it. This is a far wider acknowledged phenomena that has been hampering Indian markets over the last 2 years. So just to sort of get into each type of expiry, the first kind of expiry is a quiet expiry, wherein the manipulator sells options in bulk. This leads to the options becoming extremely cheap. The IVs go through the floor. It's like a house or a real estate which typically sells for multiple crores, selling for 1 lakh or 2 lakh. They are absolutely bizarre and nonsensical IVs which end up sort of materializing when the manipulator sells options. So as he's selling, the options become cheap, which is reflected in the cheap IVs. Now, you would appreciate that in case a real estate property were to be selling at 1-2 lakh as opposed to multiple crores, you would be tempted to buy it, which is what a lot of people in the industry, in options trading and the wider industry, who are tempted to do because something so cheap ought to be bought into. But what would happen then is that now short options make money when the market stays absolutely quiet. So what the manipulator would then do is that it would keep the market in an extremely tight range so that it pockets all the premium from the options that it has sold. That was the common mechanism in the quiet expiry, wherein it would pocket all the premium and keep the market in a very narrow range. The other kind of expiry was a volatile expiry, wherein he would pick one side, either the upside or the downside. Let's say he's picked the upside. He'll buy calls in absolutely humongous quantities. He'll buy ATM calls, OTM calls, deep OTM calls, all of these calls,
Okay.
which would be reflected in the options becoming nonsensically expensive. Once again, imagine a bottle of water selling for 20,000 instead of 20 rupees.
Right.
Okay, and then in the last 2-3 hours, you would create a move in one side, a big move on one side, which would lead to all the options becoming in the money.
Okay.
This is a widespread phenomena which has been observed in every index on every expiry practically, on 90% expiries practically, through the last 2 years. Multiple people will validate for this. So there is no question around this happening. And
Understood.
what is happening is extremely bizarre. It is extremely, extremely bizarre. It's like, a currency suddenly becoming a Bitcoin. A currency you would know, like a USD INR, is extremely less volatile. It's suddenly beginning to move like a Bitcoin. So it's very apparent that, these things were happening.
Okay. Okay. Mayank, if I can take you through two quick questions. The first one is with regard to a lot of buzz that is going around the street. I know you've already clarified that if, you cannot call yourself a whistleblower, considering that you have no relation to Jane Street. However, when they see options trader, I think there is a buzz in the market, and there is some conversation about your past alliances with this group. I just wanted to get that clarified on your end.
No, there's no. I have absolutely no alliances with Jane Street whatsoever. There should be no doubt.
Okay.
And I have never, in any capacity, been involved or have had any interaction with Jane Street. So just to be absolutely emphatically clear.
Understood. Understood. Okay, I want to ask you one last question now. So when you're looking at the kind of responses that are coming from Jane Street, for example, this morning we reported that in a letter to their employees, Jane Street has claimed that this order is bereft of any reality of the markets, and that it seems that there is a general lack of understanding of how hedging works around the globe. I wanted to just you to respond to that.
Yeah. I'll give you my views on this. That is absolute nonsense. When you're establishing an arbitrage position, as Jane Street has claimed it is doing, you can't do a cash arbitrage position with the forwards. They're arguing for basically cash and forward arbitrage. Now, cash and forwards cannot be in a ratio of 1:8, 1:7. For an arbitrage position to hold forward, it should be a 1:1 ratio, so that you can lock in profits. You can't be having X position in cash and 7 to 8X position in forwards and calling that arbitrage. That is by no means arbitrage. So that is, I'm sure SEBI will see through it. That is a very, it's sort of a conversation that Jane Street is releasing so that it can mislead the public, is my view on it. And I'm fairly certain that this is no form of arbitrage. Plus the market dynamics. Okay, there'll be multiple people now who will validate that the market dynamics were absolutely not fundamentally linked. They were absolutely off. They were completely corrupted. Not me. There'll be multiple people who are as senior from the options trading industry itself. So there is no question around this happening.
Understood.
Jane Street can clarify whatever it wants.
I got that, Mayank. Thank you so much, actually, for joining us on this conversation and taking us through all of your points here. It's actually been quite eye-opening. And that was Mayank Bansal.